This is The Nightside with Natasha Hall on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Hey there, it's a beautiful night in Montreal. It's going to be a beautiful week in Montreal. I love this city. I know you love it too. One thing I'm not loving so much these days, Donald Trump, the Trump tax scam. I am so sick of this guy. I'm sick of everything that comes out of his mouth. I'm sick of his face. Yet, I could watch the SNL skit over and over and over again. And I'm not going to lie to you, I have watched it quite a few times. Let's hear a little clip from that skit right now.
Our jobs are fleeing this country. They're going to Mexico. They're going to China. I will stop that. If Hillary knew how, she would have done it already, period. End of story. I won the debate. I stayed calm, just like I promised, and it is over. Good night, Hofstra.
Not quite over here. We're just getting started. So the Trump tax scam. Yeah, I know. We're sick of it all, but maybe we could learn something from him, right? There are loopholes to pay less tax here in Canada, too. We're not talking tips on tax evasion. We're not going to say that. We'll maybe call it avoidance or just that every little bit counts, right? I think that's fair to say. So I'm joined by someone who knows an awful lot more about this than I do. His name is Josh Miller. I think you might know him. He's the co-host of Today's Entrepreneur. That's Mondays at 7 right here on CJD 800. He's also the partner at FL Fuller Landau. Hey, Josh.
Hello.
There it is. There's There's the trademark.
Yeah, it's not quite the voice that Alec Baldwin does for Trump, but China, China.
How many times can you say that?
Well, I'm going to be there because I travel to Hong Kong and China a couple of times a year. It's going to be interesting to see what the Chinese kind of think of that. I'm going to get their take when I'm there.
I would be very curious to know. I'm sure they love his hair. I mean,
might be a little jealous of his hair.
They might be a little jealous of his hair. So we're talking about the Trump tax scam. I mean, the guy has pulled off this deal where he has not paid tax, and they're saying maybe 20 years, maybe never, because of a loss.
I won't say I'm a Trump supporter, but I'll tell you, I think the word scam is a little bit strong because other than the fact that he's been audited by the IRS who knows how many times, because when you're in that league, the government that's broke needs money. So they're going to audit you to the nth degree. And I'm not so sure what they've actually found, because there are quite a number of very tax legal areas that can be deducted. So, a lot of people are saying scam. A lot of people are saying he's paid no taxes. But the reality is it doesn't mean it's not legit. When you have
and smart. I mean, really,
very smart. Well, he said it himself. He's smart.
He said it many times. I don't know if I'd take his word for it, but
how many times, Natasha, have you heard a gambler tell you about his losses? Never. And how many times do you think an egomaniacal political individual businessman will tell you about his losses?
Let me think about that. Would it be maybe never?
However, these losses can actually offset whatever profits or income or gain can happen in future years. You can have losses. We know the Donald has declared bankruptcy once or twice or 3 times or however many times.
Enough times that he has needed to, yeah.
Enough times that, that it's made the papers. Those losses, those bankruptcies created losses. Those losses were probably larger than our typical lottery losses. When we go to, buy $10 worth of tickets, okay, we lose $10.
Not the end of the world.
I think he loses more than $10.
Yeah, but he's got a lot more to lose.
There's a report in 1995 that said he lost over $900 million in that year alone.
Yeah.
In that year alone.
Yeah, close to $1 billion. 935, I think it was.
916, 935 at that
Enough.
point. What's 15 million between
seriously.
friends? So the question is, how many losses do we not know about that's offsetting his future profits? That's offsetting his future gains. We just don't know that.
And why do we take issue with it? Because, I mean, it's clearly not illegal if he's passed the audits. And do you think we could learn something from him? Perhaps we could. I'm Natasha Hall. You're listening to The Nightside. I'm with Josh Miller, who's telling us a thing or two about, he doesn't like the word scam. So we'll say how to be smart, how Trump has been smart at doing this.
And I think part of it is being smart, and part of it is being dumb. Part of it is the failures that this man has had over the years comes back to save him taxes. Now, you could say, would you rather him pay $500 million in taxes, and it goes towards the American people and the governments and all that. But look at the other side of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
What if you say, you know what? Maybe he spent $500 million or $1 billion in the economy. Would I rather him pay taxes and have it squandered by the government? That's maybe a little bit excessive in what they do.
Wait a second, that government that he's about to become part of?
Yes, that I'm sure foundations will get paid.
It's going to get complicated. Yeah.
It's going to get complicated. Trump speaking out of both sides of his mouth? Never.
Imagine
Never.
that.
Can never happen.
That little tiny mouth.
But it's interesting because you have this dichotomy, this two thoughts of, great, let him pay a lot of taxes.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if he didn't pay federal taxes, because we're only talking about federal taxes. That's the only thing. It's not talking about states, not talking about real estate taxes, not talking about any of that. Federal taxes. That's what everybody's really focused on. He hasn't paid that. But how many dollars has he invested into the economy itself?
Well, he'll tell you a lot of jobs. He's certainly a lot of jobs. He likes that word too.
He loves the jobs. He loves the jobs. He doesn't want the jobs to go to China. He doesn't want the jobs. He wants to build that wall. But I'll tell you, there is an absolute huge benefit for him putting in that many dollars, billions of dollars, into the economy. Now, has he screwed a few people over the years?
Yeah.
He wouldn't be a businessman if he didn't.
Sure. I think the problem is he seems happy about it, right? And that's why I think people are all too happy to jump on the hey, he hasn't paid his taxes, he hasn't paid. If it were us, if I could pay less tax, I'd like to pay less tax. I think everybody would like to pay less tax. So do you have some tips for how we could do this? I'm going to open up the phone lines too. Let's hear from people. 514-790-0800. Do you think you should pay more tax? Do you think you could pay less tax? What do you think about what Donald Trump is doing? We'll take your text to 514-800. Talking to Josh Miller. He is the host. You know him as the host of Today's Entrepreneur. That's Mondays right here at 7 o'clock on CJAD. So what do you think, Josh? How can I pay less tax? I want my own tax scam.
The first thing I actually tell people is, I wish you would pay $1 million in taxes. Want to know why?
Why?
Because it means you earned at least $2 million.
Ah.
Doesn't that be a nice thing?
It would
You earn
be
a lot
nice
of money and
thing.
pay taxes.
Yeah.
Now, that being said...
But more money doesn't always equal more tax, right? That's the thing.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. The question is, what areas can you save money in? What are the legitimate areas? Now, we'll get to the maybe... loopholes that have been closed over the years a little later in the program.
Okay.
But certainly from a today standpoint, from what you do to save taxes, there's a typical. You want to donate some money, you'll save some taxes. You want to donate I'm always talking in the high bracket. We're talking about high net worth individuals. So we're talking with people that earn, a couple of $100,000 and more. We're talking about Donald Trump, who's earned $600-700 million and more. So a little bit more than a couple of $100,000. And he's not paying tax. So the people, let's assume people that are earning a couple of $100,000 or more, because we'll talk about the bulk of the population, at least the Canadian population. And simple things, donations, great, but you have to donate to the cause, but it'll only save you 50 cents on the dollar, about.
Yeah.
So you want to give, $50,000, great, it'll save you 25. Do the simple things, the RRSPs of the world. These things you want to put in, 50,000 to RSP if you have the room, it'll probably save you about 25,000 of tax.
Do I have to be a big shot to be a player? Like, is there any hope for the little guy?
I think there is hope for the little guy. However, the big guy, the big fish, the big dollar money, people are attracted to. So you want the schemes, the plans, the ones that can take advantage of the tax system. All these financial advisors, investors, and planners, they're all going to go after the guy with the big money because that's where they get their big payout. Doesn't mean it's not available to the small guy, but is it worth it to them to go after?
But yes. And does it play into that whole thing? That's how the small guy stays small, and that's how the big guy gets bigger, right?
Sometimes you need that professional to give you guidance. So
You're
does
the
the small guy
professional.
make it? We can talk about that after we get back.
All
from
right.
the break.
We're talking to Josh Miller, and he's going to give us, he let us know he knows a couple little loopholes that might help us pay less tax. I'm Natasha Hall. This is The Nightside on CJAD 800.
The Nightside with Natasha Hall on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Hey, thanks for joining us tonight. You're with me for the next 3 nights. Yeah, John Pohl for the last 2 nights. He's your guy on Mondays and Tuesdays. I met him the other day. I got to say, I really like him. He's full of, am I allowed to say Yeah, I want to say a dirty word, but
Spunk.
Yeah, spunk's a good word. Sure, I was going to say
It's not a
something
dirty
in
word.
vinegar. Something in vinegar. We'll let people fill the blank in. I think we know what we're saying. He's got it going on. And another guy who has it going on is the fellow who's joining me tonight, Josh Miller, and we're talking about. I'm going to say it again, the Trump tax scam. So he's getting away with murder, right? We're sick of him. We're sick of his face. We're sick of what he's saying. Still not sick of the SNL skit. Did you guys see this Saturday Night Live? Did you see it?
It was hilarious, and it was really spot on.
It was epic. So here's a little clip, not of Trump, but of Hillary's part in that skit. Let's hear it.
My opponent's tax plan benefits the top 1% so much. It's not just trickle-down economics. It's, I don't know, I guess if I had to call it something off the top of the old dome with no prep whatsoever, I don't know. I guess I'd call it trumped-up trickle-down economics.
So what I want to know, Josh, is how do we get a piece of that? How do I get a piece of the tax cuts and this guy is really, I don't think he's smart in general, but when it comes to these things, he's smart. He's got it going on. And it's not illegal.
Surround yourself with the right people. You can always look smart.
Look smart. That's why you're here.
It's like I surround myself with prettier looking people because, then it makes me look, well, we won't go there.
All right.
But
the cue there would be for you. That's why I'm here.
That's why you're here,
your
Natasha. There you go. That's what we all know about. But if we're talking about the 1%, we're talking about saving taxes. Do they have access to programs or tax loopholes or whatever that are more than the average bear for more than the average bear? No. The answer is no. However, they do have tax advisors that know better.
Right.
They do have professionals around them that know better. They have a team around them that knows better. They also are invested in companies that do earn more money.
Right.
And they do have those companies that they can sell. Now, it's not a loophole, but the reality is if you own a small business and you sell it under the right circumstances, you don't pay tax on your first $820,000.
Okay.
You could show, $400,000+ of income tax, of taxable income, and pay zero taxes. That's crazy, right?
It is crazy.
It's not 600 million.
So, yeah.
But it's still 800,000. And the reality is it can even go further because the top 1%, the people that have the great teams around them know that they can take that 820,000 and actually share it amongst their family. So if you have 10 family members you want to share it with, you can sell your business for $8 million and pay no tax.
All right, so this fellow wrote in. We're getting texts and we're getting phone calls as well. If we'd love to hear from you, you can text us at 514-800 or call 514-790-0800. I'm Natasha Hall. This is the Nightside on CJAD 800, and this is the text that just came in. The years my company had a loss, I claimed it and offset future earnings. It is not scandalous. It is not a scam, and it means I get to stay in business. That's from David.
Now, here's the thing, and this is precisely where I think Trump's tax return, or if we ever actually see Trump's tax returns, it would show partially this. Gamblers always tell you about their winnings, but they never tell you about when they lose. The guy that goes to the horse track, oh, my horse came in number 1, but he never tells you when he loses and he blows his money. Well, I'll tell you, as we said earlier in the program, Donald Trump, that's been through 1, 2, 3 bankruptcies, what have you. There's entrepreneurs out there that have been through some losses. Those losses, if you don't you can use them against other income and other gains. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. So it's, whether you carry it back or whether you can carry it forward 20 years, you can use those losses. You lose $1 million, your next million, I'm oversimplifying a little, but that next $1 million, you won't pay tax on.
Oh, if I had $1 million.
There's a song about that.
There is. Are you going to sing for me now?
If I'll choose not to.
I bet you can sing too. So I just feel, for me, it's all mumbo jumbo. And then I hear this thing and I just immediately think, oh, the guy's got to be a criminal. He's got to be a criminal. He's not paying taxes. He's not. But in reality, that's not at all what's going on. And there are loopholes.
Now, and it's not just about loopholes. Don't forget the government has audited him.
Right.
So
several times.
So it's not as if he's paying off people in the government. I don't think that's the case. I just think that, there are areas of the tax law that he's taken advantage of. Not only that, he's lost. So let the losses pay for the future gains. totally normal, whether it's U.S. or Canada.
I just hope he loses the election, but
Well, that's a whole other picture. You know,
That's what I'm
which
really
one is
hoping
scarier?
for.
Which one is scarier?
I'm Natasha Hall. This is the Nightside on CJD 800, and I'm joined by Josh. And he's the guy. He's the man who knows about the loopholes, and he's going to stick with us for a little bit after this. We'll be back.
Learn, maybe laugh. The Nightside on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Natasha Hall, your host, and we have a caller. We're talking about tax scams. I got a text here that says, can you stop saying loopholes? It's available to everyone. Loopholes implies taking advantage of some weakness in the law of some sort of illegal tax evasion. This is not the case. Okay, I won't say it anymore. I won't say loopholes anymore. Let's see what our caller has to say. Sean in Longueuil.
Thanks for taking my call. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. Actually, you know what the last texter said, it kind of rings true and kind of false. I think the reason we call them loopholes, we got to remember, I think Robert Kiyosaki said that tax laws, they weren't designed by you or me. They're designed by the rich and wealthy, and they have all the rules meant in there for the rich and wealthy. But it doesn't mean that we can't take advantage of the same rules that they put. The average person, or whether small business, home-based business, can use the same advantages as anybody else. I've always said the biggest difference between somebody who works a 9 to 5 and somebody who works a 9 to 5 and has, let's say, a home-based business is bills and expenses. At the end of the day, you know, we all have the bills we pay. How to turn them into expenses, what's going to save you on your tax bill.
Thanks, Sean. I can see that Josh is chomping at the bit to say something here.
And I'll challenge you a little bit. I don't think the rules are made by the rich. I think if the rules are made by the rich, they'd be very different. I think the rules are made by the fonctionnaires. I think the rules are made by government employees who understand that the government needs money and they have to fill their coffers, but don't always understand the full impact of business. So that's where, you know, while a lot of people say loopholes, I would say that it's just taking advantage of the tax system as it's designed and using it to the advantage of the taxpayer. And with those in mind, you know, I would say there's a few things that have been closed over the years. You know,
I was like, Sean was quiet there.
I didn't mean to shut you up, Shauna. You know, it's just my own opinion. What can I say?
No. I want to hear everything before I interrupt. It's not a presidential debate, so no interrupting.
No. Then we'd have a moderator that can't control.
Nothing could be more boring than that one last night. Holy moly. Sean, did you have something else to say? 'Cause
No, just to add one thing, you know what? The large corporations, they're very good with their lobbying groups to make sure that laws are implemented in a certain way. Now, I will say that in Canada, it's a little bit different than the States, where the States, you know what, you got to have, I guess, hands in the politicians' pockets just to make sure that you get the tax laws in a way that you want. But at the end of the day, you know what, correct me if I'm wrong, but something like the top 1% earners in Canada account for, what is it, half the tax revenue in Canada at the same time? So it's not like they're not paying their fair share. They're paying their fair share, but you know what? They're using every rule available to them to minimize basically the amount of tax they pay.
Right. Well, can you blame them? Thanks so much for the call, Sean. I'm going to get Josh to respond to that after the news.
Fresh, fun, The Nightside with Natasha Hall on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Hey, that's me talking to you tonight. It's a beautiful night in Montreal. And we've also got Josh Miller with us. He is the co-host of Today's Entrepreneur. That's Mondays at 7 o'clock right here on CJAD. He's also the partner at FL. That's Fuller Landau. Thanks for joining me, Josh.
Love to be here, Natasha.
We're talking about things, some words are making people angry. So people don't like that I'm saying, I'm talking about the Donald Trump tax scam and talking about loopholes and how do I get in on it? How do I pay less tax? And I've got one text that said, can you stop saying loopholes? Now I've got a new one that says, can you please stop saying scam? Has Trump been charged with a crime? He's been audited, as you have said already. Yes, we did say that. I don't know. It still feels borderline like a crime to me. You know, it's sort of on the edge. So I asked my accountant, who is kind of a wild one. I love her. She's going to go unnamed this evening. And I asked her, do you think Donald Trump is a bad guy for not paying taxes? And is there any way we can avoid paying taxes? Can we pull our own Trump scam? I said it again.
First of all, I'm not a fan of the word avoidance because most people that go to their accountant or to H&R Block or to their tax preparer don't say, could you please make me pay more taxes and I want to avoid paying taxes, what the general person usually does is, can you make me pay as little as possible within the confines of the law? No one says, I want to pay more when their accountant has finished preparing their taxes. So I have an issue with the way it's being represented that he's done something wrong. In addition, losses can be carried forward to offset future profits, or they could also be carried backwards 3 years to offset past net profits. So this is a standard thing. People in Canada do it. Corporations, I do it all the time for my corporate clients. When they have a loss in any given year, you could either, like I said, carry it backwards 3 years or forwards to offset future profits. That's a standard. Everybody does it. I don't know an accountant who wouldn't do that for their client, and it's also inherent in the way you do accounting. If you have a loss, you have to do something with it. You book the loss in any given year, and then it either gets carried forward to offset future profits or backwards to offset past profits. It's kind of inherent in the tax system. You can't really get around it, and I don't want to ever claim it forwards or backwards. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, but again, we're talking about the words that I'm using: scam and loopholes and Donald Trump. These are all words that no one particularly likes, as far as I'm concerned. Although this fella says, I am not a Trump supporter, but I don't see anything wrong with what he did. Normal accounting practices minimize taxes paid using every law available. That's from David.
I think it's not about whether it's a scam or a scheme or a plan. And, the tax guys will say it's not about avoidance. It's about proper planning. It's not about avoiding tax or eliminating tax, but minimizing tax because, they don't want to be on the hook for anything. They don't want somebody to come back to them.
Planning schmanning. I mean,
Planning schmanning.
That's why I'm paying a lot of tax.
The planning schmanning, gets paid to all these professionals by Donald Trump says, okay, I earned $694 million. How do I not pay any tax? Well, Donald, the first thing is lose $900 million first. You won't pay tax on your $600 million next. Great. If I could lose, plan. I would love to lose $900 million because it means I have a whole lot of money to begin with.
Yeah, we're not Donald Trump. Let's see what John in Outremont has to say about it. He has something to say. Hey, John.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I have two suggestions. Canada is a very unique country. We can influence policy that most countries wouldn't even think about. Number one, guaranteed national income. Number two, flat tax. By doing the guaranteed national income, you eliminate 50% of all the bureaucracy in all governments, whether it's municipal, federal, provincial. Everybody has a livable income. You don't have to have old age security. You don't have to have unemployment insurance. You don't have to have welfare. None of it. You shut all those departments down. Everybody is guaranteed $25,000, whatever it is, right?
And who's paying for that $25,000? And where does the capitalistic structure come into play?
Well, the money goes right back into the economy. These people didn't have that money to spend before that. Now they do. And you offer them education. You offer them all kinds of other social services that are not available now, like improving your education, if you want to go to a trade school, daycare. But you eliminate all these other departments that are just, functionaries, with their pencils. Second of all, the flat tax, that way everybody, pays tax. But it's not like,
Listen,
it costs me more. And the other guy pays less. The quote-unquote loophole. There are no more loopholes. You make $100 million, this is what you pay, 30%. You make $30,000, you pay 6%, whatever it is.
All I know is we're paying too much. Thanks for the calls. Thanks, John. Have a great night.
I think it would be great to have a flat tax system. I travel to Hong Kong quite often, as some of the listeners may know, and they have. It's one of the most, if not the most, capitalistic systems on the planet. Mm-hmm. There's a flat tax there, but they have their other ways. The real estate is an absolute fortune, and people pay tax on real estate. The one thing, and you keep using the word scam or whatever. Okay.
Scam and loopholes. I know. Nobody wants to hear them anymore.
Scam is a 4-letter word, but it's it's not that Donald Trump is not paying. He's not paying federal taxes, but it doesn't mean he's not paying real estate taxes. It doesn't mean he's not paying some other type of taxes, not federal taxes. But the amount of real estate that man owes,
Right.
and the amount of property taxes that he's paying is absolutely huge.
Right. The way I look at it is, again, we're talking about Trump, and we're talking about the fact that he didn't pay taxes due to a loss, and it is all legit, evidently. But I want in on this action. I'm Natasha Hall. You're listening to the Nightside on CJAD 800. I'm joined by Josh Miller, so he knows a thing or two about this. So that's my bottom line. Is I want to know, how can I pay less tax as the little guy?
So here's another example, and some of these are tax ideas and tax laws that have been closed over the years, but one that hasn't been closed yet are, everybody hears these two words, tax shelter.
Yes.
What in the world is a tax shelter?
I don't know, sounds good to me.
This is not a roof over your head that's designed by tax people. These are investments that people can make when they have excess funds, because you're not doing it with your lunch money and your rent money. You can't do that. This is about the top 1%. These are people that earn a lot of money, that are paying big dollars in taxes, and how can I reduce my taxes?
So tax shelter does not apply to me.
Tax shelters, well,
Dang
maybe,
it.
Natasha, you earn a lot of funds. You
Darn.
could be, the next big thing. Beyonce is waiting for you.
So we have time. I don't mean to interrupt you, Josh, but we have time to squeeze in one more call before we trek in with traffic. It's AJ in Montreal. How's it going, AJ?
Good. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
So I just want to start off by saying that I'm not a Trump supporter, and I don't believe in a lot of the stuff that he says.
Yeah.
But I do understand on a certain level that if there is a loophole in the system and you're smart enough, or your accountant is smart enough to make use of that loophole, that you should be taking it. And I do, I'm not originally from Montreal. I come from a different country, and I usually transfer a lot of my earnings to that country, and I make a lot more interest on my money than I should. And
I like
God bless you. God bless you.
Thanks for being so upfront about that.
Technically, it's a loophole in the system, right? If you look at it, I'm not doing anything illegal. Everybody knows that this can be done, and I'm just doing it. So,
well, good for you. More power to you. You're smart, like Trump is smart.
And I think the not a loophole, but the things that the government has closed is, you better now if you're a Canadian resident, you better start reporting that income, because if not, the computers and the government will catch you.
And this man knows a thing or two about this. That's Josh Miller. He's the co-host of Today's Entrepreneur. That's Mondays right here on CJAD 800 at 7 o'clock. And also a partner at FL Fuller Landau. Thanks so much for joining me this evening, Josh.
Awesome. Absolutely, Natasha. Thank you.
Are we sick? Are enough Trump already?
Oh, it's so entertaining, though.
Unless we can learn something from him.
More Pence.
Oh, no.
More vice presidents, right?
Pence and Kane, that was absolutely brutal last night. But I really appreciate your time, and thanks so much, and we'll see you again soon.
You bet.